Just as soon as the gravitative forces of electropositive preponderance have carried the growth of that rose to the fourth gravitational tone of electromagnetic opposition, which is the maximum point of inhalation in its life cycle, then magnetism begins to dominate and the rose begins to fade. Just so with all integrating ideal, whether it be man, our planet, our flaming sun, our minute atomic system. The law for one is the law for all. Death is a disappearance of form, but not of the ideal of that form. Growth is an effect of gravitation. Growth means that forming things pass down the octaves in gravitative periodicity. During that periodicity, electricity gives form to the ideal, and magnetism gradually nebulizes that form back into ideal. The form of ideal is of no import. It is but a manifestation of the ideal itself. Form is fleeting. Its appearance and disappearance are periodically repetitive throughout eternity. Ideal is the eternal record of form, the soul of form. Out of motion in inertia comes a newborn ideal, which runs the course from electropositive motion in opposition into electronegative motion in opposition, and back again into motion in inertia. There it is stored as the chemical registration of the ideal, which man calls memory, until man needs to recall it again. This he can do at any time by regenerating it. The ideal of the rose differs from the newborn ideal of man's thinking in that the rose is a very much evolved old ideal, the memory of which is millions of generations of evolving through motion in opposition, is stored in the seed of the rose in motion in inertia, ready for regeneration or reincarnation at any time. All evolution of ideal of mind into form is electric and is limited to electropositive motion in opposition. Evolution of ideal ceases in the master tones of motion in inertia with the disappearance of evolving form, and begins again its evolution of ideal from these same master tones with the reappearance of evolving form in motion in opposition. The master tones are a record of all motion and a storehouse of the memory of it. From the master tones the evolution of form of ideal starts, and in them, at the next octave's end, the record of the evolution of that ideal is again registered in memory or form. Evolution is but the inevitable effect of periodicity, which is characteristic of all phenomena of this creating universe. All growth and declination, also all evolution of 1,000,000 generations of growth and declination of form, are but stages in the periodicities resulting from the electromagnetic oscillating process of thinking. The universal mind substance of matter or light could not be anything but a thinking substance because of its possession of electricity and magnetism as attributes of energy. Electricity and magnetism are those apparently opposite principles or qualities of mind which cause it to be a thinking substance. The apparent points or centers of disturbance throughout the entirety of the substance of divine mind, due to the process of thinking, are electromagnetically registered in light, which is energy, which is matter, all one and the same. Evolving and devolving forms of matter are but changes of various dimensions. The law of the growing rose is the same for the man or the giant sun or the stellar galaxy. Now, there's some words in a box here. It says, electricity attracts, magnetism repels. Electricity and magnetism move in opposite directions, their departure from each other being at 180 degrees. Electric lines of force approach each other at 180 degrees. Magnetic lines of force depart from the line of direction of electric force and also of magnetic force at 180 degrees. Electric energy reproduces itself by induction, and dissipates itself by conduction at an angle of 90 degrees to the lines of direction of induction and conduction. Now there's another chapter we're going to begin. It's called New Concepts of Electricity and Magnetism. The concept of modern science regarding the mutual attraction of oppositely charged particles and the mutual repulsion of similarly charged ones is fundamentally wrong. This concept claims that positive charge repels positive charge and attracts negative charge, whereas, instead, positive charge attracts positive charge and expels negative discharge. Electricity is the attractive force of this universe of integrating matter. The belief that positive charge repels positive charge is inconsistent with the accepted fact that density increases as pressure and positive charge increase. Greater density and greater pressure are both due to the power of electricity to attract electricity. If positive charge, density, and pressure increase in the direction of the gravitative center, where the attribute of attraction is at its maximum in a mass or system, and decreases in the opposite direction, which is the direction of negative discharge, it is inconsistent and illogical to claim that positive charge repels positive charge. Cohesion increases as centripetal force predominates, and positive charge increases with increasing ability of mass to cohere. On the contrary, cohesion decreases as centrifugal force predominates, and negative discharge increases with the decreasing ability of mass to cohere. There is no greater evidence of the truth of this than the known fact that any mass accelerates its speed as it approaches a mass of greater positive charge, and decelerates its speed as it recedes from such a mass. There is no greater evidence. I just read that. Consider, for example, the acceleration of any planet or comet in that part of its eccentric orbit in which it approaches, and its deceleration as it recedes from the sun. Let me read that again. Consider, for example, the acceleration of any planet or comet in that part of its eccentric orbit in which it approaches, and its deceleration as it recedes from the sun. Consider the acceleration of the ball as it drops toward the gravitational center of the Earth, or the deceleration of the bullet as it is forced away from the Earth. Consider the deceleration of the atom of gas, which rises of its own accord to seek its own more negative region of low pressure. Careful consideration of these many effects of motion should convince the logical thinker that accumulation of mass is due entirely to the power of electropositive centripetal force to attract electropositive centripetal force. On the other hand, the disintegration of mass is due entirely to the expanding power of electronegative centrifugal force. As the direction of electropositive lines of force is toward the apex of a cone in a closing spiral, and the direction of the electronegative lines of force are away from the apex in an opening spiral, these opposing forces cannot possibly attract each other. Modern science claims that negative charge repels negative charge and attracts positive charge, whereas actually negative charge repels both negative and positive charge. Magnetism is the repellent or separative force of this universe of disintegrating matter. Man's fixed concept of magnetism as an attractive force is also fundamentally wrong. This basic error is fast tied to every meaning of the very words magnet or magnetism. These words are universally used in the sense of attraction.